As many of you can see, the topic is where do we go from here? And I believe that is a valid question this February 22nd, 2023. Where do we go from here? Uh, there are there is a blizzard coming across the north of America. The president is coming across from the Ukraine, Kiev, and the NATO countries, dealing with the Chinese balloons coming across the North and South America. The war being escalated and China getting in on the fray, about to put in weapons. America getting involved with more mass shootings. The churches being abandoned. The family life decaying, especially in America. Where do we go from here? The Grammy Awards being, I guess, the decadence of what would be looked at as the red devil Satan, has been portrayed throughout history, but being brought to the forefront with the horns and all of the regalia, and also permeating over into the NFL Super Bowl halftime with the red symbolism. And all of it seems to be leaning toward the demonic. So, where do we go from here with all of this that's going on, the murders that are happening all over the country, police beatings and killings, uh, not being just isolated to white cops beating black people, but black cops killing black cops. But one of the great secrets that's been well kept is that the ratio of white cops killing white citizens, that's not being reported. So violence is rampant throughout all the land. And in the midst of all of this, the shootings at the college campuses, at gas stations, and your life is in danger almost anywhere you go. So, where do we go from here when we're trying to see what the future holds? Coming up from the red clay of Woodside, Louisiana, and Alexandria in particular, we saw that there was a future of going to school to become what they call somebody in society, maybe a doctor or lawyer or a minister or something of that sort, or someone in the military or public service or an educator. There was a future, and now we look, where is the future? Does it look brighter or does it look dimmer? We're now getting caught up to the point where sports and sports activities is becoming the way out. People are beginning to sequester themselves in their own homes, in their own environments, or having a life on these YouTube screens and not having a public life as far as dealing with the public. It would seem much safer. So where do we go from here? Just a conversation, a talk, just to ask ourselves in the midst of looking at our children and grandchildren, pointing them towards the future. What does the future really look like? And with COVID-19 and diseases and all types of things happening, earthquakes, Turkey and Syria, killing as many as 45,000 and still counting. Where do we go from here? That is the question. So, what is the answer? Everyone will have to answer for themselves, but it is a valid question. And I have saw a picture that I posted, and it was a picture of my grandson. My son had took a picture with him in his office, and in the caption I wrote, I can remember when I put you in my office in our first home over 40 years ago. And I said it was sowing a seed into the minds of the future. And my son wrote me back, which I didn't put in the post, but he said, "Yes, Daddy." He said, "I remember that." And once he said that he remembered that, I was very much pleased and satisfied, because that was my hope and desire, is not to really tell a story, but to show him what it was like to have a father who had an office, and who, this is where I did part of my work, and that he would sometime, somewhere get it in his mind that he could also make a living in his office. And so, seeing that now he's grasped the hold to that, and now he's sharing it with his son. You see, the images was a seed that was sown when I was younger man. And I think it's just like God does. What he does is God has planted seeds, and he has left the bread trail that if you followed it, you would come to the fruition of what God intended all along for you to have a mindset. And so that really happened. So, with that being said, where do we go from here? What has God placed in this life that we are to look at and understand the unwritten things, or the untold stories? But what he placed here leads us to believe that he wants us to see that, hey, you can do this also. For the scripture says, greater works than these shall ye do. That God says he knows the thoughts that he thinks towards us, to bring us to an expected end. That he has a plan for our lives and a design for us to fall in line and follow. So, those of you who are tuning in, I ask that you would subscribe, uh, like, share, because it's a question that we all need to ask. Where do we go from here?